Hello and welcome to Matt's Automotive Channel. We have a brand new project car here. It's a 2013 Ford Taurus SHO. Actually, it's not my project car, it's my son's. And I'm going to start this video by showing you a few clips of us picking this up. Wheel rolling now. There's something break.
So I think we just picked up the cheapest SHO in America.
Now that can't be good.
I paid $1,200 for this plus an Xbox One. Car was like 46,000 new, so a little bit of a discount there. It's a little rough though. It's been hit in the back. We had an ice storm here in Portland, Oregon about 6 months ago, and it was hit. So you can see the bumper's cracked, and the whole front bumper has been replaced. Not sure if it even cranks. It supposedly has rod bearing damage, but we'll see what happens when we hook a battery up to it.
Okay, we're ready.
The battery's not strong enough. So here's the battery situation. Probably one of the worst I've ever seen. You just have flakes of battery acid. And we're just gonna take this out, bypass it completely, and hook up directly to the new battery and see if we can get it cranked that way.
Yep. Nope.
Nope. Okay, we got a lot of stuff in here, so let's see all the goodies we can find. First thing, engine cover. Nice. The factory rotors. I don't know what I'm gonna do with these, but junk. They're there. Ugh, those are not light. We have antifreeze. Factory Motorcraft. We have more antifreeze. We have the cat. This is honestly probably worth a couple $100 right here. We have factory SHO exhaust. The other side of the factory SHO exhaust. Oh, this is what I've been looking for right here. Deluxe tire repair service kit. We have that I cannot reveal on camera. I'm sure this will come in handy. Fan, why not? We all need a fan. I know you're my biggest fan. I think this goes in the trunk, so that's where it belongs. Don't know? Oil stabilizer, in case you're not stable. Oh, a hairbrush. Okay, here goes nothing. Let's give it a shot.
As you just saw, the motor is all seized up now, and we do have another one that we had ordered. This one was in the middle of being rebuilt, and this is out of an F-150, and there are some differences between this motor and the one that we're going to pull out of the SHO. But one of the first things we did was drain the oil from the oil pan and also remove the filter, and we opened up the filter, and here is what we found inside. just a lot of metal specks everywhere. So apparently a bearing or something has gone bad in this motor and distributed little metal fragments throughout the motor. Hopefully most of them are caught here, not distributed into other components, but it'll be real interesting to get this motor apart and see what we find. Let's start tearing this motor down here by getting this hood in a higher position. This is just too low. So what I'm attempting to do here at this point is hopefully I can just swing the hood up far enough to kind of get it out of the way here. Obviously this is going to be in the way once we get the engine hoist out. But we got these struts here. I think we can just go ahead and remove those, and then hopefully we can just swing it up. If not, we'll probably have to remove the whole hood. With the head struts off, you can see I was able to get that hood pretty vertical just by tying it back here with a rope. And that's going to give us plenty of access here to pull the motor. So I'm just going to leave it like this, not going to worry about removing the whole hood. Now, one of the things that I fear with this motor is since we potentially have a motor that's totally seized up, I won't be able to turn the crank. If that's the case, getting this thing out is going to be a whole lot more difficult. Reason being, torque converter. I got to be able to spin the crank in order to spin the torque converter to access the 4 bolts that hold the torque converter to the flex plate. If it was longitudinally mounted, it wouldn't be too big a deal because you would have enough, you could drop the transmission and then you'd have plenty of room to pull out the torque converter, which you probably need about this much space to do. But here with this being squished in here so tight, there isn't. So basically you got to get that torque converter disconnected so you can kind of lift it just straight up. So anyway, I want to clear all the stuff out of the front here, maybe the back, and look at my access to the bell housing bolts. And hopefully we can get something down here and see if we can even turn the motor, because that's really going to determine how we remove this motor. Let's start with pulling off this beauty cover. Looks like I have to take the oil cap off in order to get it off. There we go. There, and I'll get this oil cap back on so we don't accidentally drop anything into the motor there. Probably won't matter anyway since this motor is toast, but anyway, that's a start. Let's see, as far as getting to the crank bolt, doesn't look like access from the top here is too good, so I'll probably have to raise the car, take off this front wheel here, and then probably pull off the splash shield under there, under the fender well, and hopefully we'd have good access to it at that point. But before I do that, I'm going to start removing a few more things here off the top because I'm really curious to see what my access is to these bell housing bolts here on the firewall side. And let's start by removing this strut tower brace that goes across the back here. That's going to give us much better access to the rear part of the motor there. Hopefully we can just lift this away now. Yeah, no problem. Since these bolts also hold in the shock or the strut, I'm going to put these back in for now just so it has the extra strength here, since we'll probably be raising the car and pulling a bunch of things off. I'm going to put this back on. Even with the brace off, access is still pretty limited here. I think we're going to end up having to pull a lot of this ducting off here in order to get good access. Also, I want to take off this cowling here. That'll give us a few more inches of leeway here. Plus, we'll be a lot less likely to damage this when pulling the motor out. Right now, you can see the motor's kind of tucked underneath, and I can just see this coming up, hitting this, and destroying this cowling here. So let's just get that off. In order to remove this piece, we're going to have to remove the windshield wipers. So I went ahead and pulled off these little caps here. We'll undo these nuts here, then pull the wipers off first. And then it looks like just these fasteners along the front, and then we'll pull it out. Oh boy, looks like this is going to be a little stubborn. We might need to get our pullers out for this. Ah, bummer. Let's hope it come off a little easier. No, let's get our puller. Okay, I do have this little windshield wiper puller here. It should make removing this pretty easy. This puller's a little too small for this diameter, so I'm just going to put the nut on there to help hold that in. And then put this on and then twist this down, and hopefully we can pop it off now. There we go. Get that brake loose. And bingo, there we go. With all the fasteners out, hopefully we can just pop this out. We'll have to disconnect the squirters. There we go. And we'll just disconnect our hose down here at this end. Actually, pull it right from here. There we go. Now I can go through it. Okay, there are a couple of clips here on the side that you have to slide forward, and it looks like the rest of them just kind of pop out. There we go. Wow. It looks like it freed us up a whole lot of room, but at least it won't damage anything, and it does give us a little bit more space. Now, you're probably saying, Matt, that really wasn't worth it. You didn't free up much space there at all. And you're right, it didn't. I'm kind of learning, but I'm kind of glad we took this off. There's our drain, and it looks like that's plugged. So this needs a good cleaning anyway, so it's probably not a bad idea to remove it just regardless and get in there and clean it. It's a good opportunity, and also by having it removed, you're not going to damage it. So let's see, is this a drain here too? Yep, looks like another drain right there that's totally plugged up. Unbelievable. Anyway, I think the next thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and pull the battery, and then we'll start taking some of this intake stuff off so we can get better access to the area behind the fire, or in front of the firewall right there where the bell housing bolts are gonna be. And so anyway, I'm not real familiar with this motor, so I'm kind of learning as I go. Yeah, and on the Mustangs, I know if these things get plugged, you will eventually have water intrusion going right through the firewall into the cab. I had that happen with one of my Mustangs, so regardless, good idea just to clean these things up. You know, it's not like you're gonna wake up someday and randomly think, hey, I'm gonna clean out the cowling in my car. So this is just a good time to do it. You know, all too often you just wait till something bad happens before you address this, so might as well just address it now. Fair amount of acid corrosion here. The bottom of this is just eating away the bracket. This is just chunked on here. There's still a lot more to come off. And tons of it here too. It's crazy. Anyway, I got the hold down off and the terminals here, so lift this battery and get it out of here. Yeah, hopefully we can get this tray out. A lot of times these bolts down here that hold the tray and rust and they'll come apart. But anyway, if we get that out, we should have much better access. And wow, even a lot of corrosion down here too. Just everywhere. Look at this. It's just all caked up everywhere. So I'm vacuuming out as much of this as possible. Vacuumed out the tray as good as possible with the brush and the vacuum. So anyway, it looks like there's just 3 bolts holding this tray down. So I'll just remove these and hopefully we can just lift this tray out. Go. With the tray out of the way, we can see the transmission mount here. We obviously won't be taking that out or anything, but hopefully we can get a little better access down here when we have to separate the motor from the transmission. Let's start removing some of this intake. All right, notice we have a missing bolt here, but we'll take this one out, and hopefully this whole box will come out. Let's give it a shot and see. Yep. Yeah, just to show you here, it's real interesting that they hide a cap underneath the intake here, right there. And this hidden cap here is for transmission fluid. Out of all the motors that I've worked on, this one definitely has the most connections and hoses and things on it than any of the other engines I've worked on. I think it's kind of a good idea every once in a while just to go around the motor here and kind of inventory what goes where, because when you put it back together, it's nice to have that documented. Well, I tell you guys, this is not an engine for a beginner, that's for sure. This thing is just so convoluted with pipes and tubes and, oh, it's just a mess. So anyway, looks like the next thing I'm gonna take off, I guess this is a part of the charge pipe, and goes down here, it looks like to the intercooler, and then wires together. Well, God, is that, I don't even know if that's from the other side. I don't know. But anyway, this is what's coming off next. And so, yeah, it looks like I can undo the hose clamp here. And then if you go over the motor and then back down in there, you'll see another little hose clamp right down in there. So I'll take those off and then remove this pipe. And of course, there's a bunch of stuff connected to that. This is gonna be the blow-off valve here. And then another, that might be a pressure sensor there, I don't know. Anyway, let's take it off and just document it real well. And then here's the fuel line. Yep, a little bit of fuel coming off there. Actually real easy to take off. You don't need a special fuel disconnect tool for that one. Okay, for this crossover pipe, disconnected the connector here. The hose clamp down there. There's a nut that goes on here. There's another pipe that goes right here. I think this is the blow-off valve, and then of course one there. So hopefully we can just pull this sucker off now. Oh, and then this guy right here as well. Whoop. Oh, another one here. Wow. And, oh boy, another one down here. Let me show you where that one goes. This hose right here goes down under and then to that T right there. All right, hopefully it seems free and clear now. There we go. Wow, that's a lot of connections. You know, the thing that makes this engine so difficult is when you try to trace these hoses, anytime you pick one out, like for instance, this one here with just the little T right there, I'm trying to find out where that goes, and it just kind of goes down into the abyss, can't find it, and then it kind of comes down over here and just kind of disappears. It's really tough to figure out the workings of this motor. Another thing to point out is there has been some modifications to this. This here is blocked off. That's obviously aftermarket, and it looks like maybe it was a tube that went down here, which is also blocked off. I'm not exactly sure what this is. I'm gonna have to investigate, or if you know, please drop me a comment. I would like to know. So anyway, there's a lot to have to figure out with this motor. Again, you're kind of learning with me on this one. I'm not an expert with this motor. So anyway, bear with me. Now that I have the charge pipe out of the car, I just realized that it actually has two blow-off valves. One of them was already taken apart. This one was just like this. There was not a hose on it because they were venting it to atmosphere, probably for the cool noises that it makes. However, the other one was hooked up correctly, which goes back into the intake. And you can see that they had it capped off here for the one near the firewall. This is the one that was making probably the cool noises. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting that this actually has two separate blow-off valves. Now for this guy here, right in front of the throttle body, that was just capped off. This may have been an induction tube, I'm not sure. But anyway, another little modification that was done on this car. Another thing that I thought was kind of interesting was this hose right here that goes from the intake. It goes kind of right around here through the back of the motor and kind of winds around there, comes out and then goes back in here right over the oil fill cap. So this is probably some kind of aftermarket. I can't imagine Ford actually designing something like this. So this engine has definitely been messed with a bit. I want to start taking off some of the coolant hoses now. However, it still has antifreeze in it. So I think I'm going to move this up on the lift and we'll get the antifreeze drained. And then we can also take a look under the car and see what we may have to face as far as removing things from the bottom side. Okay, on the underside of the car here, I just wanted to check out access to the turbos. And yeah, we got pretty good access right here on the front side, and then over here on the back side, we can see the turbo right up there. And I think we can go ahead and get to these flanges, exhaust flanges here that we're gonna have to take off before we move the motor. Also, as far as access to to the motor from the side, from the front where the crank is. It looks like if we get this wheel off and pull this panel off, we'll have pretty good access, and we can try turning the motor and see if it's totally seized or not. Again, if it is, I think we're gonna have to drop this whole subframe. If not, I think we can pull the motor out from the top. However, the first order of business is gonna be to drain the radiator. This is kind of interesting as well, where the radiator resides in the bottom where it actually ties into the car. Here on the passenger side, you can see the little dowel that comes through there, and then over on this side, oh no, looks like there's a towel wedged in here. I don't know why, but we'll investigate that further. Another thing to note here, all the motors I've taken out before that were transversely mounted like this, I've had to support the transmission side from the ground while I pull the motor. However, this one looks like, you know, we got a transmission mount way up in there on the driver's side, and then we got two mounts here, one going to the front of the vehicle and then another one on the back, and those are both mounted to the transmission. So I don't think we're gonna have to support the transmission. I think these mounts here will hold it while we remove the motor. Now it looks like the drain for the radiator is right here. However, the valve is right up above. Let's see if I can show you. There, you can see that. Not real easy to access. But anyway, nonetheless, that's it. Okay, let's get a bucket under here to capture the coolant. I can get this coolant draining. Hopefully I can rotate this valve just up here with my bare hands. Oh yeah, easy. Come on, coolant. There we go. While the coolant is draining, this would be a good time to pull the wheel off. I took the wheel off, and there's a little panel here that I took off that gave me access to the crank right there. And I put a wrench on that and a breaker bar and an extension and everything I could, and I could not get it to turn. So I believe the motor is totally seized up, which means I won't be able to get the torque converter bolts out of the torque converter, so I won't be able to separate the transmission and motor inside the car. So what does that mean? It means that I'm gonna have to take off this entire subframe here and then lift the car off the motor and transmission. So we got a number of things to disconnect down here. We got to obviously get the exhaust off, and the drive shaft, and also the struts where they go up there, and brake lines, oh boy, all kinds of stuff. Of course, the coolant hoses, which we would have had to do anyway. Wiring harness. So anyway, need to work on that, get all that disconnected, and we're just gonna have to lift the car off the transmission and motor, and then separate it outside the car. What a bummer. Okay guys, I got all the splash shields and fender well and everything out of here. So anyway, I got the breaker bar here onto the crank bolt, and if I try to spin it clockwise, I cannot spin it at all. However, if I try to spin it counterclockwise, you can see I can do it. So it's hitting something, binding up. Ooh, that's a weird sound. Oh, it's kind of binding up there again. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to rotate the motor enough to get to all the torque converter bolts. So anyway, let's open up the panel and see what we can get to. This is really going to determine how we pull this motor. All right, so as you come in under here, you can see the shield here for the torque converter. And there's the access plate, and we're gonna have to pull this stuff off anyway, this exhaust. So let's get this pipe out of here so we have just better access to that port there. With the exhaust pipe off, we got much better access here to this plate. So let's get this plate off and see how many of the torque converter bolts we can actually get to. Okay. All right, we're gonna have to rotate the motor until we get some bolts showing here. All right, let's start turning this. Oh, it jams up right there. I can't get to it. What a bummer. All right, I can only get to one bolt, and that's it right there. And it just won't spin anymore. So another thing that we could do is pull this oil pan off. Maybe there's something down there that's hitting the bottom of a crank or something that is preventing it from spinning. Maybe we can get it off that way. So maybe that's the next thing to try, is just see what's in that oil pan. Hopefully it'll reveal something. Okay, we got some of these exhaust pipes off here going to the cats, and now we can go ahead and drop these cats. It's not too hard. If you go look up here, there's the flange for that cat on the back side, and on the front side it's still pretty easily accessible. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull that now. All right guys, I moved that crank back and forth a number of times, and it looks like it freed itself up, at least somewhat. So anyway, I got access to one of the bolts. I'm gonna jam the flex plate into the side of the housing there, and I'm gonna try to pull this bolt off now. Okay, let's give it a shot. There we go. We're getting it. I got that loose, and okay, we got 1 of 4 out. Let's see if we can keep turning it. All right, I got 3 of them out at this point. So hopefully we can just keep turning this and get it out. Let's see, maybe free that out a little bit. Okay, pull that out, and then we'll see if we can turn it more. If I can get 1 more bolt, we got it. Oh no, it's locking up right there. Oh God, okay. We'll try going the other direction. Hopefully we can go all the way around the other direction. Oh, did you see that? That's interesting. It looks like the torque converter is loose. That other bolt should be holding it in there pretty good still. Let's see. If you can see that hole there. Did you see that flex around? Look at that. I'm actually spinning. Look at that. Is there only 3 bolts? I thought there was 4. But you can tell that the torque converter is spinning free independently of the flex plate now, because look at this, I can move that. Interesting. Maybe one of the bolts came off and it's jamming something up in there. I don't know. That is really odd. Or maybe there's just 3 bolts. I'll have to look that up and see. If there's just 3, I guess we're golden. I've never seen 3 before though. It's always been 4 bolts holding that flex plate to the torque converter. So I'll check into that and see. All right guys, this is good news. I went online to look up a torque converter for this car, and lo and behold, it only has 3 bolts holding it on. So we were able to get all 3 bolts out, which means we're going to be able to separate the motor from the transmission in the car. So we'll be able to pull the motor out of the top of the car, which I think is going to be a lot easier. And I really lucked out because, like I said earlier, that motor just won't turn anymore, not at all. So I think probably something in the timing chain is bound up, or maybe one of the guides came apart or something. It'll be real interesting to get the motor out and see what's actually going on in there. So anyway, this is good news, and I think I'll end this video on a good note. So anyway, I'm gonna say goodbye for now, and I'll catch you on the next one. So anyway, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to be reminded of videos going forward. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye, and have a great day.
Just be